A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 7th May 2020. Day is the Thursday. I would like to start today's discussion with this quote. It's about light and darkness. Give light and the darkness will disappear of itself. A dark room is basically a place where you don't have any light. As soon as you turn on the light, the darkness will go away, right? There is no other option. There cannot be any other thing. As soon as you turn on the light, the darkness has to disappear. Same thing applies with our mind as well. There are so many things like barriers, these hurdles. I see these barriers and hurdles like dark rooms. They are nothing but like absence of light, absence of efforts, and absence of courage. Many a times our mind creates this imaginative fears that we cannot achieve this thing, this is not possible. All this we are not capable, and all these things are like dark rooms. If you add a little bit of, if you demonstrate the courage to enter the room, enter this dark room, if you can, gather all your energy to light up even a small candle, and here the candle means an effort, even a small effort, and if you do it consistently, then this darkness or these hurdles will vanish as well. So think about it. With this, dear friends, StudyIQ has launched a smart course. Now, this smart course is designed by the best faculties of our country. It covers both pre and mains examination. Of course, we are talking about UPSC Civil Services Examination, and as far as payment option is concerned, you can opt for EMI as well. To find out more about it, do download our mobile application on your phone. To download the PDF of today's lecture, do check out my Telegram channel. Please make sure that you share this lecture with other students. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Dear friends, on our table we have 5 articles. All these articles are from the Hindu newspaper. The first one is Back Home. Now, Ministry of External Affairs has launched a mission called Vande Bharat. Remember, the last flights allowed to land with incoming passengers were on 22nd March 2020. So many students, tourists, business people, right? So many other people who were out there on honeymoon, who were out there for a pilgrimage, they were out there for various different reasons, right? For a short trip. They are stuck in various different parts of the world because of this global or like a global lockdown. So this is the right time to bring them back as quickly as possible. It's been nearly 2 months' time now. They are stranded in different parts of the world. We are going to deploy both airways as well as waterways to bring as many people back as quickly as possible. In the first week, our target is that we are going to bring back some 15,000 nationals from 13 countries. That's a big thing. It's not a small mission. Of course, 15,000 people is a big number of people that we are talking about. Ministry of Home Affairs has released a standard operating procedure. The SOP is that those whose visas are about to expire, those who are facing deportation, those with family emergencies, medical issues including pregnancy and other things, and students who have lost their accommodation will be allowed to return in the first phase, which is open to only Indian nationals at present. They have to agree to these 2 things. The first is that mandatory institutional quarantine for 14 days. This is condition number 1. Very, very important. Second thing, they have to bear the cost for travel arrangements and accommodation. This is also important. We cannot provide things free to each and everyone, but I must add here, and I strongly believe as well, that government is sensitive enough. There are so many people, right, blue collar workers, they cannot afford a ticket. This is going to be a very affordable thing. They are not going to provide you luxury options. The main thing is to bring you back as safely as possible. So the ticket prices or traveling price or this fare is going to be not that high. But then as well, there are so many students who cannot afford it. There are so many people who were out there for business or for whatever reason, right? But they have spent huge amount of money already because they were stuck in some expensive nations. So I'm not saying that we should provide things free of cost. Those who can afford should definitely pay, and they should come, they should come ahead. And if you can afford, then you should pay for someone else's ticket as well, right? There is nothing wrong, means you can contribute. If there are people who can do this thing, so they should. But those people who cannot afford, that means money should not be a hurdle, right? And I'm sure government is sensitive enough. We have already seen this thing early on as well, where remember when Prime Minister Modi had a video conference with our ambassadors and high commissioners, and of course he talked about best practices that are going on in various different countries in which they are deployed, of course. At the same time, he also said that look after Indians, provide them food and other necessary items, and that's what Indian diplomats they have done. They have informed and communicated well with Indians who were stranded abroad. Diplomats have organized food, shelter, and other things, medicines and other things for those stranded Indians. So these are a few positive things that diplomats have already done. So I'm sure as far as this cost is concerned, it's not going to be a big thing. There are two things for which we have to prepare ourselves, right? The first one is a second wave of novel coronavirus, and this makes this quarantine one of the most important thing, right? This is very important. First, so second wave, because 15,000, then we are going to see some more coming back. In countries like West Asia, they are going to go through some tough times, financial as well as from economical point of view. Oil demand is not there, so these countries are making huge amount of losses. Businesses are not working, so our people, blue collar workers, they may be forced to come back. So we have to prepare for that exodus as well, and we have to prepare for second wave of novel coronavirus. God forbid, but in case if there are this sort of cases, then it should not come as a shock for us. We should be proactive in this preparation. Moving on to next item, dear friends, but before that, yesterday I asked you a question about this 5 positive points about this working from home. And many of you have answered this question, and I have gone through the answers of Hindi version of Hindu analysis and the answers provided by the students over there. Of course, the membership or the more people are watching that video, so more people have answered. But that does not mean that you have not answered. Of course, you guys have answered questions, and I have gone through it. So the common thing that I find in most of the answers is this: weekends can become more productive. When I say weekends, I mean to say that you'll get more time, more productive time. Then you have talked about less vehicle, less pollution, less accidents, less fatalities. So that's also a right point. Work-life balance. That means your professional as well as personal life, there will be a good balance. Optimal use of land. We don't need that big offices. People can work from any part of the world, any part of our country. So migration and other things will drop as well. This migration from rural area to city area, which we know that it's not always good. There are so many negative things as well. Like Mumbai is a good example. The slums and other things, and today you can see that that's a big issue, isn't it? And the fifth is this is something that of course many of you have talked about this sexual harassment, which is not acceptable at all, right? We don't want to see this sort of issues, right? Sexual harassment of women, that is not acceptable. And we have laws and everything, but then as well we find this sort of cases, which is very unfortunate. So that is also a very interesting and important point that you have shared. But it will empower, means working from home will empower more women and Divyangs as well, and those elderly people, those people who they cannot go out for various different reasons, right? But if they can work from home, then they can share their expertise, their knowledge, their talent with the world. So it will empower Divyangs, elderly people, women, and so many other classes. So this is overall, basically these are the main things that you guys have posted, and this Divyang point I have added from my side, right? Elderly point as well I have added from my side. So overall I can say your answer is quite interesting, and I really appreciate your efforts. Same with the Hindi lecture, right? Means it's very difficult, or I would say nearly impossible for me to highlight one specific answer that is perfect or great. That does not mean that your answers are wrong. That means it's a very difficult, means most of you have answered quite well. So I really appreciate your effort, right? I'm sorry I won't be able to take any names here, but I have gone through all your answers, and I really appreciate your efforts, and that's the most important thing, right? A new thing has started on this platform, so cheers for that. Now, blame game. This one is about Mr. Trump's recent attacks on China. Mr. Trump is blaming that it is the China who is accountable for the spread of this coronavirus infection. He has also said that this virus has its root from a lab that is in Wuhan, right? Virology lab. And it is also said by Mr. Trump that this virus was somehow, it got leaked from there, and this is the main reason why we are not able to fight it. But he has not provided any sort of evidence for his allegation here. Trump administration is saying that, or accusing Beijing of withholding information about the virus. Now, we don't know what exactly the right thing is here, who is right. Still, investigation is going on, or in fact, I would say investigation is not going on. Means we need to do a thorough investigation on this thing. Then only we can say what was the mistake, what are the things that we can learn from that mistake, is it done purposefully or not. We cannot continue this blame game, and this blame game is going to damage the whole world. President went so far as to seek compensation from China. And China is saying that earlier on you were appreciating our efforts. You were appreciating Mr. Xi Jinping. But now all of a sudden you are taking a U-turn. And this is something that we cannot ignore, that presidential elections are not that far in USA. And there are so many people who are blaming Mr. Trump. They are not happy with USA's administration or Mr. Trump's administration in tackling this coronavirus episode. So this is also possible that Mr. Trump is trying to draw attention to those things. He's trying to, he's trying to rescue himself from this spotlight, and he's trying to put something instead so that people's focus can be diverted. So this is something that is also, this is something that is going on, to be honest. And the question for the whole world is that what will happen if these two nations, if they keep on fighting with each other? Early on, their trade war created a bit of problem for the whole world. Remember 2019's report that so many IMF and other institutions and other experts, they were saying that the world will hit a recession because of this global trade war going on between USA and China. And now we know that after this, just in January 2020, both these nations, they had this initial trade agreement. It was decided that USA will reduce tariff on Chinese products, and China will buy more things from USA. And then we saw this whole episode of, in fact, we are going through this whole episode of coronavirus. So it is going to create more cracks between these two nations, and their fight is going to impact each and every one of us. What we need is cooperation. And it's quite strange as well that USA is importing personal protective equipment supplies from China. At the same time, it is blaming China. I don't agree with Mr. Trump when he said that he's not going to means they have decided this thing. They have halted money or funds for WHO, which is very sad, because there are so many countries, they get help from, there are so many poor countries. Their savior is WHO. But if WHO will not have any money, then what will happen with all those poor countries? China has paid some $30 million for now. Means paid in the sense it has added or it has granted some money, extra help is coming from China, which is okay, which is we have to appreciate it, isn't it? I'm not favoring China here, but I think we have to wait for a thorough investigation. I'm not saying that China is clean, right? There is something fishy going on because China is reacting very aggressively when it comes to investigation. We'll talk about that point as well as we move ahead. But what we need now is a proper cooperation, particularly these big countries, right? This is very important that only through cooperation among nations we may be able to find a medicine. If we may find medicine, then to transport and supply it to various different parts of the world. For that as well, we need cooperation, and to bring the global economy back on track, we need global cooperation. If these two biggest economies of the world, USA and China, if they are engaged in fighting with each other, in blame game, in tariff war, this is not going to help the global recovery. So what we need is we need a multilateralism, a proper multilateralism. We cannot have just USA as the biggest superpower. We cannot have this rising China as the biggest. What we need is we need like-minded countries to come together to make WHO, to make WTO more democratic, more effective, more efficient. WTO was not able to stop this COVID, beg your pardon, this trade war between USA and China. WHO was not able to, inform various different countries on time, or the whole world on time. So, and still, it's not having any answer about the origination of this virus and other things. There are so many questions that WTO as well as WHO should answer. So, clearly we know that these institutions they need a proper upgrade, right? We need latest version of WTO, WHO, United Nations, UNSC, etc. And India is a country that can take a lead here. We can, gather all those like-minded countries, those constructive countries, those productive countries, those countries who are sensitive towards environment, those countries who are ready to contribute their expertise, their money, their manpower. Those countries who are democratic, those countries who are liberal, those countries who are plural. We need all those countries on board, and together India can take a lead. With the support of all these countries, we can work as a mediator between the USA and China, and they should understand that they need to stop this blame game as quickly as possible, and they should focus all their energy on development of economic recovery as well as development of this medicine. The underpinning assumption of the post-war multilateral system was that of peace and prosperity. These are the two things that go hand in hand. If we don't have peace, we cannot have prosperity. And to have prosperity, peace is also important. So we need both. And what we are finding is this coronavirus is basically unmasking many countries. There are so many countries, they have they have kept a ban on exports on medical items, medicines, masks, PPEs. Just imagine what will happen with those countries. Many countries, they don't have any factories, right? They run on tourism. They run on fishing and other small islands I'm talking about. So they don't have factories. They buy things from various different countries. What will happen with them? If you have these masks and other things, and if you don't supply, then what you are doing is you are weaponizing this global supply chain. You are weaponizing this interdependence, which is important for the whole world. Globalization is important, and you are using it as a weapon. When India said to China that your kits are faulty, China slammed India, saying that you are behaving irresponsibly. Means it started blaming India. When Australia asked for investigation, China threatened it with trade or economic consequences. Now, this is not a behavior that we expect from a country like China. So, as I told you, what we need is we need first order values. Those countries supporting pluralism, democracy, liberalism, animal welfare's right, global climate change, fighting global climate change, right? We need all these countries, like-minded countries, to cooperate with each other, and we need to create a new world order. India can play a very important role, because India is plural, democratic, liberal, and India is capable to become a manufacturing hub of the world. We have proved that we will not run away when it comes to responsibility. We have provided HCQ, this hydrochloroquine medicine, to so many countries, isn't it? We will not do things like other countries. They have stopped exporting rice and they have stopped exporting wheat and medicines and other things. We will not do that thing. So we can replace China. We can get all this business, and we are also trying to attract businesses to come and work and make in India, or made in India, design in India, and we will supply to the world. And China's image, China may recover. China's economy is back to normal now, 100% capacity. They have started working on their earlier capacity. They may recover quickly economically, but their image, right, is they have got a dent on their image. If they don't follow global rules, if they don't do the right thing, then no one will trust China. That's a thing. And USA as well, equally, they have to behave responsibly. Then we have a very interesting article about console bond. Very interesting idea coming from First World War, what UK did back in First World War. It issued back in 1917 console bond. This console bond it's basically about raising money for the First World War. And look at the advertisement here, that if you cannot fight, you can help your country by investing all you can in 5% exchequer bonds. Unlike the soldier, the investor runs no risk. So it's basically a bond issued by the government, and you can get money from the people, right? 70% holding this of this console bonds. Small investors have put their money in this console bond. So this is a very creative way of collecting money. We can get money. We can make people participant of rebuilding our economy, rebuilding our nation. And we can opt for this traditional method as well, where central banks will buy government bonds and in return it will print more money. That's a traditional way. But if we can get money from people, just imagine if everyone from our country is giving 1,500 rupees, whatever they can. Someone will give 20 crore, someone will give 50 rupees, someone will give 500 rupees. So if we can contribute, right, if we can purchase this bonds, console bond thing, then government will get this money, government can use this money, we will get dividend on it, and this bond is issued by government. So as far as security is concerned, we know that we will never lose our principal. So this money can be used by the government for a very long period of time, and government can use it for stimulus package, it can use it for supporting MSMEs, right? Because at present government it is already facing a shortage of revenue. Indirect tax collection, direct tax collection is going to go down. And there is one more interesting article that you can join with this discussion, is that basically everyone needs money. Everyone is running to the government, seeking bailouts. In normal times, these companies will say that government is a big hurdle, but when they face a little bit of trouble, they will say that government, please bail us out. When they make profit, they want to make it private. But when they make losses, they want to socialize, they want to distribute this loss. They want the government to bear their losses. So this is something that is not fair, right? This is not fair game. And corporates, Jet Airways, Yash Bank, we have so many examples. They were following this policy. When they make profit, it is private. When they make loss, they want to socialize it. And one thing that we have to understand is that you cannot stimulate an economy during a supply side lockdown. If your vehicle tires are punctured, then even if you start your engine, you are not going anywhere. You have to stay where you are. So giving money at present is not going to help. Once the lockdown is over, then supply side issues then we have to work on supply side issue, and then we will be able to provide some money. And if you provide money, then it will be like fixing a puncture. Your engine is on, punctures are fixed, and then you can expect your vehicle to move on, isn't it? So government revenues are also going to it will take a toll on government as well. 2 to 3% of our GDP, government is going to make this big loss. Disinvestment target, government won't be able to achieve it. So somewhere around, let's say 2 to 3% loss, 1% disinvestment target it will miss. So we are at 3% already, 4%, and then you have 3.5% fiscal deficit. So if you add it up, it will be somewhere around 7.5. So we will already be somewhere in minus 7.5. On top, people are saying that give 10% worth or 10% of GDP worth stimulus package. So here we are talking about what, 17.5%, isn't it? This is not affordable. There are people who are saying that bailouts should be based on need and not affordability. No, you have to calculate. You cannot shower money. You have to calculate. Means we are not having that much wealth. We are a poor country, so we cannot shower money. You have to be very careful. We have limited money, and we have to use it as optimally as possible. One more thing, there are people who are saying that incentivized or give incentives to these bank managers who are lending money, and if someone is not able to pay, then provide a sort of cover or insurance. Don't you think that there will be so many fake companies? They will start registering fake losses, and people will try to get as much as money possible from this lending. So we cannot take that risk as well. It's not like we don't have to give money or government should not give money. Government should, first of all, let's say clear this 1 lakh crore due of this GST payment. Give it to states and they can use it, right? They are running out of cash as well. Second thing, as we were talking about this drop in this money, right? Shortage in indirect tax collections as well as direct tax collection, because people are not going to get their salaries. Many of them are out of job. Many businesses will make loss. So indirect tax collection or direct tax collection, will see a nosedive here too. So best is we can collect money from, like, we can have this sort of console bond, and going to IMF is also not, because they are also going to apply terms and conditions, their terms and conditions on us. So we don't want at present we are not in that tight corner that we go and knock the doors of IMF. Right? So if we can get money from people, we can take this money and utilize this money for uplifting our economy. But all these things will happen only after lockdown is over, right? Or this partial lockdown. Those companies or those sectors that are open, we can start supporting them step by step, right? Moving on to news items. Top Hizbul Mujahideen commander has been killed in Kashmir, has been said by police. So that's a great news for our forces and for our nation and for the world as well. The world, of course, is fighting against this terrorism. Delhi police suffers first COVID-19 death. So I would say this, I would address this 32-year-old Delhi police constable as a martyr, right? To all those people who are working at grassroots level to fight this coronavirus. They are our soldiers, right? This is a war that is going on against COVID-19, and these people are our martyrs. They are our shaheeds. Indians returning on Navy ships may have to pay. We have already talked about it. Over 80 BSF men test positive in single day. That's a sad news. And then we have this chart, right? We have already crossed as a nation 50,000 mark, which is sad. Ahmedabad is going to see more stringent shutdown. Maharashtra sees a big surge, 16,000 mark they have crossed. Delhi to raise some 4,000 Tablighi members from quarantine. And there is a fall in key treatment categories. Police arrests boys locker room group admin. Legal system geared to favor the rich. We were talking about judiciary yesterday, remember? And one person called Rajat Kumar, he's from this ITI. He has developed one device from this microwave. He has turned this microwave into a sterilization unit. And I have one question for you. Why government should not reduce price of fuel, right? Think about it and stick your answer in the comment section. And that's everything in today's discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video. God bless you all. Jai Hind.